Sim Standard Madden 12. I'm going to take a look at a play here at speed and then go back and break it down pretty good. To me, this should be pretty hard to follow in terms of player names. I'm about 4 or 5 seasons into the offline franchise, farther than I've went a long time, just because the game is actually, playable this year. And, when the game wasn't playable, it impacted all areas, franchise, mini games, everything. So this has actually been a pretty rewarding scenario. The only problem I have with it is really the trade logic seems to be way off, especially when you look at real NFL trades. This game, it seems like your players are really undervalued. There's also a disconnect in the player progression and player, production. I've had players that I've drafted that have broke NFL records, just shattered team records, and they never seem to, ratings-wise, improve. I don't care because the player is still productive, but, there seems to be a disconnect there. You should be able to draft a guy, work him out, and get him to an elite level, and then, trade him away for something. In this game, it really doesn't seem to happen. Taking a look at the line here, as always, it's hard to judge this because this is a preseason game, so, some of these players really aren't aware, but, no pressure is generated. You can see there, Jerry Hughes and Drake Nevis get pretty much mitigated, and that's okay. I'm happy with this. At least the animations are separate. I'm not too pleased with this double team. I'm not sure what 61 is doing. However, when we go over, take a look at how this plays out defensively, number 88 beats both my guys, Rookie Hall and Bob Sanders that I brought back. And one of the big problems this game had was recognizing inside and outside defenders. In this situation, both defenders are inside. But what it would do in the past is have the wrong player go for the ball and leave the other player in worse position than you would ever want him to be. The game seems to be more consistent in selecting the proper defender. The furthest from the ball needs to be going and trying to make the play, and leave the closest to the ball, the one that's going to play the receiver. And that's exactly what happens in this scenario. Even though animationally they both go for the interception, the inside the inside defender gets it. Now, another thing I'm big at is, the defense turning into the offense and setting up blocks downfield. And at times, this game was flat out embarrassing in this regard. And it's something very hard to do because the game almost has to react to you as a user before it can, because you're kind of trying to make cuts on a dime and set blocks up and steer defenders, but in this play it actually works out extremely well. So basically when you look at the line that I'm trying to form here, you can see most of the offense is on the right side, so I'm trying to set up a run back to the left, which means that a few players need to get blocked. That's key in terms of this being successful. So, you look at these guys, you look at this pile of players, preferably the fastest one, and then you obviously go back to the second receiver really down the field. Bob Sanders does a really good job at picking up the initial receiver that the pass was intended for, and then we come over here and number 31 picks up the second receiver, which starts to set up the lane. And then you can see I cut over. Now I'm dependent on number 25 and 31 picking up these two, which they do perfectly. And then I cut up under that seam that I just created, which allows number 59 to go pick up one of these 3 players. It really doesn't matter which one he picks up as long as he slows the progress of one, and that's exactly what happens. A little bit closer down the field, you can see that Pac-Man Jones here goes and picks up the tight end, number 80, and also helps seal this corner off. Now, once the corner's set, the return is essentially just a speed game. The quarterback does have a little bit of an edge, but, I'm able to clear the corner and run downfield. So, for the most part, really gone are the multiple turns that this game used to take. When you take a look at the defense, I still think they overreact as a whole. When you see the entire, actually, when I say defense, I actually mean their offense. But when you look at their entire offense make this cut here, it's just a little unrealistic. At the same time, every player on the field isn't going to react. I have a hard time understanding, and we're looking at this group of players, just to be clear, I have a hard time understanding that all these players have different awareness, vision ratings, yet they all make this turn at the same time. So that's something that needs to really be addressed. There's players here that are not good in pursuit. Offensive linemen, are really not the greatest in pursuit. So they shouldn't be making these anticipatory cuts the same way that a receiver is going to be making. But you can see the defense pretty much all reacts the same the initial time, and then they all really do the second time as well. It's just it looks like because they're so close to the receiver, the ball carrier, that they have a hard time with speeding back up and accelerating, which is the right thing. But, you know, that's something that I would like to see changed. And then as you can see, now they all kind of pick a point. And because I'm running straight down the field, they obviously just follow that point. But just an example here of really good gameplay, things that need to be consistent in this game that haven't been in the past. And obviously, you know, a good example of a user being able to steer blockers into, you know, defensive players to get, you know, the result of a touchdown. And clearly this is something that goes far beyond interception returns and fumble returns, but, you know, that player steering is huge in terms of the return game. So I'm glad to see it executed fairly well in this example.